Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we'll be looking into who Valak is. One of the most interesting, powerful, and terrifying demons we've seen in the world of cinema and modern horror genre is Valak, also known as the Defiler, who appears in the Conjuring film series. Valak is an ancient and very strong demon who, in the universe of these films, takes on the appearance of a nun to mock people's faith and blend into its surroundings, notably a monastery in Romania. Valak serves as one of the main antagonists in this film franchise, playing significant roles in various storylines within the Conjuring Universe. It is due to Valak's terrifying physical appearance, incredible supernatural abilities, and rich backstory in these films that he is considered one of the best antagonists in modern horror cinema. That's why in this video, I'll provide a detailed explanation of Valak's known origins within the Conjuring universe. I'll summarize his history across all the films, discuss his physical appearance, delve into his personality, behavior, incredible abilities, and known weaknesses. As mentioned earlier, this film series primarily features the demon known as Valak as its main antagonist. He is the primary antagonist in the 2016 film The Conjuring 2. Additionally, he is the main villain in the 2018 film The Nun and its 2023 prequel, The Nun 2. It's also widely believed among fans that Valak was present during the events of the first Conjuring film, although he chose not to manifest directly. He often appears in different forms, notably as a terrifying demonic nun to the Warrens, and as a disturbing hunched man when confronting Ed Warren and the Hudson family. Valak seems to have a personal vendetta against the Warrens, which I'll explain further in the video when discussing the demon's personality and behavior. Later on, I'll also explain in detail why Valak manifests as a nun. The history of the nun is intriguing and somewhat mysterious, as revealed in the 2018 prequel film that the Carta Monastery was built in a remote location in Romania by a duke several centuries ago. Unfortunately, this duke became obsessed with black magic and the occult, becoming a significant scholar in these dark arts. Due to his obsession, the duke attempted to summon a demonic force residing in the catacombs beneath the monastery. Though the duke partially succeeded in bringing a demonic entity into our world, he was thwarted and killed by Vatican members who learned of his sinister intentions. The Vatican successfully closed the portal to hell that the Duke had opened using the blood of Jesus Christ. For centuries, there were no demonic manifestations at the monastery, as the events were kept secret and Valak remained dormant beneath the monastery. Tragically, during World War II, the Carta Monastery was heavily bombed, causing destruction, suffering, death, and significant structural damage that broke the seal made with Christ's blood, thereby awakening the evil spirit. This successfully freed Valak from its prison. At that time, the demon took the form of a nun to blend in at the monastery and to mock the faith of the nuns. Over the years, the nuns prayed fervently to combat the evil within as strange occurrences began to happen. Once freed in 1952, Valak killed many nuns, leaving only 2 survivors. One of them, Sister Victoria, survived her encounter, but tragically chose to end her own life to prevent Valak from using her as a host. Thus, Sister Victoria jumped from one of the monastery towers while fleeing Valak. Because suicide is a grave sin, Vatican authorities sent Father Burke and Sister Irene to investigate the monastery's events. Valak manipulates Irene throughout much of the film, manifesting nuns and people who aren't actually there, as all the nuns were killed by the demon. Valak does this to weaken Irene and torment her, taking forms such as the nuns he killed and even appearing as a child who died during a failed exorcism under Father Burke's care. Despite their efforts, Burke couldn't save the child's life. Valak's initial motivation in the 2018 film is that he needs a host or person to possess. Without a possessed host, this demon cannot escape the monastery and is condemned to forever wander within. That's why Valak tries to lure and weaken Irene, aiming to possess her. Interestingly, Valak reveals his history and primary weakness to the protagonists: the blood of Christ, which is still kept somewhere in the monastery. It's believed by many fans that by revealing information about himself, Valak becomes more powerful, potentially allowing him to eventually kill the protagonists and possess his host. When Irene goes into the monastery's catacombs to find the blood of Christ, Valak grows stronger and nearly strangles Irene. However, as Valak inspects Irene's body to see if she's still alive, she wakes up and spits Christ's blood onto the demon, severely injuring Valak and closing the portal once again within the monastery. Unfortunately, this is not the end of the demon. At the end of the movie, when the group of survivors leaves the monastery, it is revealed that Frenchie, the man who found Sister Victoria's body, has an inverted cross under the skin on his neck. It is revealed that he was previously possessed by Valak before Irene and Father Burke managed to close the portal and send Valak back to hell. Young Frenchie was possessed by one of Valak's snakes, infused with his essence, as this demon has control over his animals. This directly connects to a lesson the Warrens were giving about a case where a man was possessed and developed inverted crosses beneath his skin, all over his body. The Warrens successfully exorcised the demon, forcing it to lose its host. This is the main reason why Valak seeks to torment the Warrens throughout the different films. He wants revenge on the family for what they did to him. This is evident in the first Conjuring movie. Chronologically in the franchise, Valak appears in the movie Annabelle, Creation. In this film, Sister Charlotte shows Mr. Mullins a photo of herself when she was at the convent in Romania. In the picture, she is standing with 3 other nuns, and Mr. Mullins asks who the nun standing behind her is. Sister Charlotte says she doesn't remember that woman. However, it's revealed to the audience that the supposed nun was actually the demon Valak, who appeared behind all the nuns in Sister Charlotte's photograph, indicating that he had always been present in the monastery. In the post-credits scene of this film, we see Valak extinguishing some candles in the Romanian monastery in 1952, shortly before he slaughtered all the nuns. Considering the scene where Janice sees a nun who leads her to Annabelle, who then possesses her, it's assumed that Valak orchestrated this. Being a very powerful demon, he aided another malevolent spirit, in this case Malthus, attached to Annabelle, to carry out his plan of possessing Janice. Some fans of the films believe that Valak did this to show how powerful he is, and to recruit another evil spirit or demon to his side. The sequel to The Nun takes place in 1956, 4 years after the events of the first film and everything that occurred at St. Carta Monastery. Here, it's revealed that despite the immense trauma, Sister Irene did not abandon her vocation. She remains a nun and a devoted Catholic mother. However, she chose to live in anonymity in a distant monastery in Italy, refusing any title or recognition from the Pope. In contrast, Father Burke becomes a bishop and receives papal recognition. Lastly, Maurice, or Frenchie, still possessed by the demon, now works at a Catholic school, which is a boarding school. During the film's plot, in the city of Tarascon, France, one night after Mass, Father North and an altar boy named Jack suspect that someone, possibly a thief, is inside the church. In an unexpected and brutal manner, the demon Valak manifests by using Maurice to enter the area. The demon's presence causes the holy water to evaporate, and he then brutally sets Father North on fire, killing him in front of the boy in a disturbing and traumatic way. Terrified, young Jax grabs the special rosary that Father North dropped and flees the area. Throughout the film's storyline, it is revealed that a cardinal and important Vatican member contacts Sister Irene, informing her that she must investigate several strange deaths that have occurred to members of the church and clergy across Europe. These deaths are supernatural in nature and range from people suddenly bursting into flames or self-immolating, to others taking their own lives while claiming a demon is chasing them, and several individuals dying from their necks being broken by an invisible force. The church knows that the demon from the St. Carta Monastery is responsible for all of this. Although they believe they had sent it back to hell, this does not seem to be the case, as the murders started in Romania and have spread across Eastern Europe. In France, the cardinal reveals to Irene that Father Burke cannot help her this time because he fell gravely ill with cholera and recently passed away. It's implied that Valak was responsible for his death in some way, since Burke, unlike Irene, was still deeply involved with the church, and the demon knew that together they would pose a greater threat to him. So he eliminated him. Eventually, Irene realizes that Valak is searching for an ancient relic, the eyes of Saint Lucy, the patron saint of the blind. According to legend, pagans tried to burn and kill her, but supernaturally, she did not burn. Because of this, they gouged out her eyes and murdered her. Saint Lucy's family preserved her eyes in a special container, which eventually became a holy relic. As a result, all of Saint Lucy's descendants possess the gift of clairvoyance. In this case, Valak seeks the holy relic to grow stronger and desires Saint Lucy's eyes not only to gain more power, but also to achieve a form of omniscience, to see anything he wants without limits. Irene must confront Valak a second time, as he is now possessing Maurice. It is revealed that Valak, within Maurice, was responsible for killing all of Saint Lucy's descendants to gather information and clues about the relic's location, hidden within the boarding school in France, which was once a monastery. Eventually, Valak manages to absorb the relic's power. However, before he can kill Irene, Maurice, and everyone present, a divine miracle occurs with Irene. It is implied that God does not allow Valak to kill her. The young nun Irene begins praying alongside her companion, and together, through their prayers, they symbolically transform wine into the blood of Christ. This act burns and severely weakens Valak, defeating him and seemingly sending him back to hell. Unfortunately, this is not the case. We know Valak is still present within Maurice's body. This act merely weakened him and expelled only a small part of his essence. It is the Warrens who eventually tend to Frenchie and finally exorcise Valak from him once and for all, with the help of a priest, as seen in the recording and lesson in the first Conjuring movie. In The Conjuring 2, Valak first appears when paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren are documenting the Amityville murders in 1976. They're trying to determine if a demonic entity was responsible for the murders committed by Ronald DeFeo Jr. during a seance. Lorraine sees Valak as a demonic nun who attacks her and leads her to the house's basement, where she witnesses a vision of her husband Ed being impaled. Lorraine continues to experience visions of Valak after this initial encounter. Later, Valak begins tormenting the Hodgson family in the United Kingdom, primarily targeting the Warrens' daughter. Valak deceives both the Warrens and the Hodgson family by making them believe that the girl is possessed by the spirit of Bill Wilkins, the previous owner of the house. However, Lorraine has another vision of Valak, where the demon emerges from a painting and attacks her. Fortunately, during this vision, she manages to write the demon's name in her Bible. This ultimately helps Lorraine banish the demon back to hell, as confronting him with his name gives her the authority to send him away using her faith. This marks the end of the Conjuring Universe story for now, and supposedly the end of the demon Valak. Now that we've thoroughly covered the origin story of Valak in the Conjuring saga, I want to talk a bit about the real-world information known about this demon, which inspired the creators of The Conjuring to design the monster we see in the films. Afterward, I will discuss Valak's physical appearance, personality, behavior, motivations, and his incredible abilities and weaknesses. The little-known information about the demon Valak comes from the text titled The Lesser Key of Solomon, a 17th century book that identifies the most important figures of hell, which in this case are demons. The book tells us that Valak is one of the most powerful entities, known as the Great President of Hell. Additionally, this book reveals that Valak chooses to manifest as a demonic child with wings. although in the film series we usually see him as a nun. In one of the scenes from the 2018 prequel film, we can see Father Burke catching a glimpse of the demon's true form. This happens when Father Burke begins following what appears to be a child at night in the cemetery near the monastery. Other ancient demonology books describe Valak as a demon who rides a two-headed dragon and has the ability to command 30 legions of demons. It is also said that this entity has the power to control, summon, and locate snakes or vipers at will. That is why these creatures serve him. Valak's physical appearance in the Conjuring Universe, as I mentioned earlier, is that of a tall nun with demonic features. Although from a distance it may appear somewhat human, the creature actually reveals its demonic traits up close, especially its face, which is marked by wrinkles. Additionally, its skin is extremely pale, giving it a deathly appearance. Its nose is very large and pointed, and its lips are completely black. Its eyes are its most terrifying physical feature. They are entirely yellow, with black pupils, and seem to constantly watch its victims or enemies intently. The creature's mouth contains yellowish humanoid teeth that transform into grotesque, large, sharp fangs when it becomes enraged or seeks to directly attack its victims, giving it an extremely unnatural and frightening look. Besides its nun form, Valak also appears as a hunched man and even as a dog. This is seen in the scene where it appears to a boy named Billy Hudson, attacking him in a brutal manner while terrifying him with a sinister nursery rhyme. There was a crooked man, and he walked a crooked mile. This figure resembles a very tall humanoid creature carrying an umbrella and moving in an unnatural, deeply disturbing way. Additionally, the crooked man seems to have a grotesquely large mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, with large black lips, and wears a large pink hat. The reason why Valak takes on this form is unknown. However, fans have theorized that this may be explored in another prequel film focused entirely on the Crooked Man, or at least that was the plan of director James Wan. After the release of the 2018 film, it is implied that Valak takes the form of a nun to mock the Warrens' beliefs and their faith, essentially distorting the image of a nun. However, the Nun movie reveals that this is not actually the case, as Valak had already assumed the nun form long before the events of The Conjuring 2. This is confirmed in the book written by the Duke who summoned him, where he describes Valak as a demonic nun. From what little is revealed about Valak in the Conjuring films, it is clear that he is a malevolent being who only seeks to bring death, pestilence, and destruction, especially against those who oppose his will, such as the nuns of the St. Carta Monastery, Irene and Father Burke, as well as the Warrens and Ed Warren himself. An interesting point to mention about all this is that although Valak is described as one of the most powerful entities serving directly under Satan, according to ancient texts, this entity is enthusiastic about sharing some of his secrets and powers with practitioners of black magic and voodoo. This is the reason why the Duke opened the portal to hell in the St. Carta Monastery. According to fans of these films, it's likely that Valak offered him incredible supernatural abilities and forbidden knowledge if he managed to free him. This served as powerful motivation for the Duke and posed a real danger to the Vatican and the Church. Another very interesting fact about why Valak harbors so much hatred and anger toward the Warrens is not only because they defeated the entity inside the young man nicknamed Frenchie, and not only because they took away his domain, but also because some Conjuring fans, including myself, have theorized that Sister Irene, whom we see in the films, is somehow related to the Warrens, possibly being a close ancestor of Lorraine. This is fascinating because Irene not only physically resembles Lorraine, but also both share the special gift of clairvoyance to sense demons and malevolent beings. An interesting detail worth mentioning is that the character of Sister Irene was portrayed by Thaisa Farmiga, who is the younger sister of actress Vera Farmiga, who plays Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring films. Since Irene's last name is never revealed in The Nun, many fans have theorized that Irene might indeed be Lorraine's grandmother or a distant aunt. This could explain why the women in the Warren family possess the gift of clairvoyance. It's important to note that at the end of the first Nun movie, Irene decides to leave her habit for a time due to the traumatizing situation she faced. For this reason, many fans believe that perhaps Irene left the convent and eventually married, becoming Lorraine's grandmother. In the Nun sequel, it's revealed that they are indeed connected in some way, as both are descendants of Saint Lucy, which explains their clairvoyant abilities. Many fans have also theorized that this connection is why Valak attacks Lorraine Warren, her youngest daughter, and Ed Warren in such ruthless ways. Essentially, it can be said that Valak harbors a special hatred for them because Irene initially defeated him, and if she is related to the Warrens, it makes sense that he would seek personal revenge against them. It's possible that in future films of this horror universe, it will be officially confirmed that these fan theories were true. However, as of now, this has not been officially revealed. Valak is an extremely powerful demon, and the most powerful one we've seen in the Conjuring franchise. That's why he possesses some incredible abilities that make him nearly impossible to defeat. Valak can easily possess anyone. He can also read people's thoughts and memories without difficulty. Additionally, he is capable of shape-shifting at will, adopting forms that best serve him in different situations. As I mentioned before, he can control snakes and vipers at will, which we see when he attacks Father Burke, nearly killing him, and also when he attacks Maurice or Frenchie, whom he directly possesses by inserting a snake into the young man's body. Another sinister and grotesque ability he has is that, being an extremely powerful sacrilegious entity, Valak can destroy and desecrate holy ground, as seen in the 2018 The Nun film. Valak not only slaughtered all the nuns present in the monastery, but also defiled this peaceful land of worship, turning it into a terrifying and dangerous place filled with death. This demonstrates the great threat that Valak poses to anyone who dares to confront him. Valak can also slightly alter reality at will, as seen in several scenes throughout the film series. A good example of this is when the entity confronts Father Burke and causes him to fall into an open grave. Curiously, the tombstone bears his name, which doesn't make sense since Father Burke was still alive and that grave didn't previously exist. Another clear example is when Valak appears to Ed Warren as the Crooked Man and attacks him directly, making the music box come to life and manifesting this dangerous and malevolent monster known as the Crooked Man. This peculiar ability is also seen in the Nun sequel with the demonic goat that emerges from the chapel's stained glass window and manifests as a humanoid goat creature that attacks the girls at the boarding school, as well as everyone present, including Irene's friend, the nun, and the school's headmistress. It's also Valak who causes the appearance of the boarding school's Mother Superior, who had already died. She frightens the girls who used to prank her and brutally torments, and attacks them alongside the terrifying demonic humanoid goat. An important fact to mention is that James Wan originally intended for the Crooked Man to be his own independent demonic entity, separate from Valak, similar to Annabelle. However, over time, this project had to be cancelled. That's why, in The Nun 2, it's confirmed that Valak has the power to alter reality to such an extent that he can manifest monsters or entities from objects or fears that haunt people. Lastly, Valak's most significant ability is that he can block the vision or clairvoyance of the Warrens, which he uses to his advantage to deceive his enemies. Typically, Valak uses his powers to possess people and kill many victims. The only known weaknesses of Valak in the Conjuring Universe are being commanded by someone with strong faith to return to hell, as seen with the Warrens. Additionally, the blood of Christ is a significant weakness for the entity, as it severely weakens him to the point where he must retreat to hell. Lastly, it has been theorized that certain holy artifacts used by people of faith, such as the eyes of Saint Lucy, can harm Valak and even send him back to hell. James Wan, the director and creator of The Conjuring Saga, shared that although he had the idea for the Conjuring 2 story, he wasn't sure how to represent Valak. He knew he didn't want it to be created through CGI, but instead wanted it to be brought to life with practical effects. After speaking with Lorraine Warren about it, she mentioned that after encountering Valak in real life, she would see a hooded figure appearing in her home. This inspired James Wan to have Valak appear as a demonic nun, as the Warrens use their faith in Christ and religion to defeat demons and malevolent entities. By appearing in this form, Valak would be the complete antithesis of the Warrens. One believed this representation would be terrifying and directly challenge the protagonists, effectively making Valak the saga's main antagonist. And that's everything we know about the story and origins of the demon Valak from the Conjuring franchise. Honestly, I really enjoyed the story of this demon and found it very interesting. Although The Nun wasn't as enjoyable for me as the first two Conjuring films, I liked the overall concept of this evil demonic being who, after being defeated by the Warrens, seeks personal revenge against them, whether directly or indirectly, as we saw in the franchise's first film. Similarly, Valak indirectly targets the Warrens through Annabelle. Honestly, even though the concept of Valak worked well in the first films, I feel like it's being overused. I hope they eventually make more movies about other entities, with strong stories that expand not only Valak's mythology, but also the entire Conjuring franchise. If you haven't seen the Conjuring movies yet, I highly recommend watching the first two films along with Annabelle Comes Home, as I believe these are the best in the franchise. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Were you already familiar with the nun or the demon Valak? Did you know his full story in the Conjuring Universe? And finally, do you think the demon Valak will be defeated, or do you think he will return in a future Conjuring movie? Share your answers and general thoughts about the demon Valak in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it to support the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of my new videos.